Good morning, everyone. I hold the Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order Tuesday, September 9, 2025 at 11:55 a.m. Can I have the roll call, please?
Yes. Chair Heather.
Here.
Member Cahill. Here. Member Honig.
Here.
Member Krajewski. Member LaPlante. Member Martinez.
Here.
We have four committee members present. That's quorum.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments for today?
We have no public comment.
Thank you. For my remarks, I want to welcome you all to the strategic planning meeting, especially those that are not part of the committee. So thank you for being here. Today, we will see presentations from staff on the strategic plan tenets of mobility and environmental stewardship. You may recall we had originally intended for this meeting to feature discussions on fiscal responsibility and thriving economy. Well, as you know, we are in the budget season. So given that the finance team is diligently working hard on the budget right now, we opted to switch the order around and not overburden them right now. So we will hear on those topics in our October committee meeting. With that, I turn it over to Evan Shields to get things started.
Approval of the minutes?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. I seek an approval for the
So moved.
minutes. Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Evan, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair. Just a brief way of introduction. This is the strategic plan that the county board approved in March of 2024. As the chair said, in June, we heard updates on community well-being and safe community. Now we are going to focus on the next two tenets, environmental stewardship and mobility. We'll have two more later in October. This is just an update from staff to let you know how we're implementing the strategic plan and what initiatives we're undertaking. So with that, I will turn it over to Sarah Hahn.
Thank you, Evan. I'll start it off and then Jeff, I will turn it over to Jeff on environmental stewardship. Next slide, Craig. And so we're kind of aligned here between stormwater, facilities, environmental, and transportation to work right down the road and get through these two priorities very quickly for you. Next slide. And so our overall goal, and I'm not going to go through all the objectives, these are in the strategic plan, this is what the county board approved, but the overall goal is to preserve the natural environment, mitigate the impacts of climate change, safeguard wetlands, and protect public health by making strategic investments that promote community resilience. And so what we're going to walk through is how the county felt through the objectives we would achieve that goal. You can come on in, Paula, if you'd like. Next slide, Craig. So first of all, mitigate the impacts of climate change locally by improving stability for the county's stormwater management program. And so a long time story is that the county stormwater program relies on the property tax, not part of the general fund, but a portion of the property tax. And that can go up and down. It makes it hard for long-term planning and a long-term capital plan for a program like stormwater management. And so there has been a push to find stability for funding that stormwater program, whether that is through a fee system, a separate tax, or even a change in how it's funded through permitting or anything else. That is yet to be determined. And so we do have to develop that funding methodology that was originally planned for December 2026. We have pushed that off because of our staff internally has kind of had to take a pause on this to get through all of our ARPA funds, which helped us achieve what goals we have been able to achieve through our outputs and progress. And so while we don't have a stable funding mechanism at this point, or an outline of a stable funding mechanism, we are still working forward and trying to find different funds outside of county funds to get stormwater and environmental infrastructure in DuPage County. And so with that, we've been lucky to get federal and state and local funds to push forward this initiative. And so through the work that the county has done, municipalities, township, and the work that's been done here on campus, which we've all been able to see as it's progressing, we've been able to get 33,000 feet of new or upsized storm sewers. And in addition to that, I say 8.14, it's actually more, it's rounded, 8.14 million gallons of new flood storage countywide. And so that's through all of those partnerships. We've been able to do that, either upsizing detention ponds, creating new flood control facilities, or even optimizing some systems that we already have. And so that is the big initiative we've been able to do there. And with that, we've been able to offset some of the flood events that we've had. There's still more work to do. And then after that, we go into maintenance mode. And so next slide, Craig. Our other program we would like to work on, or that was part of our strategic plan, is to create a stream stabilization program. As a county board members, you will likely hear from your municipalities that they're concerned at some of their property owners that back up to streams are losing some of their property due to stream erosion. Those property owners, because the way the state, specifically up here in Illinois, is set up, those property owners actually own that property and are responsible for maintaining that property. However, as a regional program, if we could come in and work with the community, work with the property owners to have a stream stabilization program, we would be able to improve water quality through the county on a county-wide effort. In addition to that, we'd also meet some of our EPA requirements of reducing pollutant loads in the streams. And so with the ARPA funds we are able to get and working with our communities, campus, and our own projects here at the county, we've been able to find 4,000 feet of shoreline stabilization along the streams. And some of that is through cooperative grants with the EPA, municipality, and other agencies. And through that, we've also been able to calculate 155,000 pounds of pollutant load reduction in our streams per year, because all of those areas that are sloughing off, that's a term, very technical term, sloughing off into the stream, that is contributing to sediment load or dirty water is a way to say it. And that is what we'd like to reduce by stabilizing those streams and getting healthier streams to help offset the impacts of climate change. And so that is the stormwater portion of environmental stewardship. And I'll turn it over to Jeff to go through the other next section.
Good afternoon. Next slide, thank you. So item 3, the objective was to establish a community-wide climate action goals that DuPage had established in the previous strategic plan. So far, we're still in touch with the Green Government Council contacts at ComEd, NICOR, Conservation Foundation, Morton Arboretum. And in the meantime, CMAP and the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus have developed a comprehensive climate action plan for the region. And our staff are staying involved in that, and that's hitting a lot of those same goals that we're looking to do. Some good news, by 2020, we had reduced greenhouse gas on across the county by 10% compared to 2007. We're still on track to hit 20% by 2030. And we'll keep you updated as that rolls. Next slide, please, Craig. Objective 4 focuses on landfill waste from the county, including composting and increasing recycling and diversion rates, particularly among the residential zones in the county. The board and environmental committee in 2024 did approve an ordinance that requires waste haulers to report their organic diversion to county staff. That lets us track it a lot closer, and we can start to compare year over year how their programs are going. Our partners, Sustainable DuPage and Choose DuPage, are focusing on the commercial food producers and seeing if composting in the region and as a program can help divert some of that food waste from our landfills. And then we're also partnering with Chicagoland Region on recycling education and outreach projects. Our in-house project will focus more on residential recycling education, particularly among multilingual families. And I think the term is low performing areas now. We think the education would be the biggest bang for our buck in terms of improving those rates. As of right now, recycling rate has remained flat. The diversion rate did increase by 1% last year. And as we check the numbers, hopefully that'll grow as the plan goes on. Next slide, please, Craig. Objective 5 is more internal county departments and like here on the campus and at public works areas, stormwater areas. This did have a specific milestone to start evaluation, design, and construction of a project at the WGV plant owned by Public Works, and we're happy to say that they have designed and are already under contract to install a project that harvests the methane from their waste, and then it will help power a boiler down there that takes care of some of the building operations. That's kind of an exciting one to see. That should take place over the next year here. A lot of these other projects, if you've been in Public Works Committee, Environmental Committee, Facilities has taken it as a priority to move forward our solar projects, EV possibilities on campus here, efficiency projects. Member Heather mentioned one today aboard that we're proud of, so we'll continue to keep these committees updated as all these projects come online. We've had very good funding sources the past couple of years, which have helped us get ahead of this too, and hopefully, as long as the paybacks are looking good, we'll be able to keep this rolling and looking for you guys for approval. Slide 6, please. The last one here, it's pretty wordy, but at the end of the day, it's trying to get our hands around the energy data that we have available to us and kind of using that to future plan and take the equipment we already have in-house and make it more efficient. Since 2007, we have decreased our electric use on campus despite having additions put on buildings. And we're still waiting for some of our new mechanical equipment to come online, which should be more efficient than, for example, 421 building, we just completed our HVAC build out. Those used to be one massive fan in each section. Now it's been divided into 20 smaller fans that instead of all on or all off, it can kind of modulate as needed. And the fans themselves are much more efficient. So we should see these numbers continue to decrease as we move forward. Another one I want to highlight is the retro commissioning of our building automation systems. That's a ComEd program. They put us in touch with an engineering firm. They're working with our power plant staff, and they're basically going through all our automation systems, saying, you know, can we reduce hours of operation for certain areas? And this is really getting into the nitty gritty fine tuning to kind of squeeze every watt we can out of our systems. I think we've made pretty good progress. We'll keep you updated as it goes. Again, Public Works, Environmental Committee will probably be the first ones to hear, but we're happy to update you as needed. Thanks. Steve might be next.
I believe so. All right, thank you. So yeah, mobility and environmental stewardship are probably pretty good tandem to have here because everything they're doing is kind of dovetails exactly into what we're trying to do. So when we're talking about reducing carbon emissions and all that, well, guess who produces a whole lot of that? The transportation network. So all the things we're going to talk about covers a little bit of that. Resiliency is a big topic with you know, the environment getting a little warmer with runoff becoming significant. So anything we can capture on our roadways without it just immediately flashing off is always a good thing. So going to touch on a little bit of that. Next slide, Greg. All right, so just a reminder, the goal was intended to make sure that our transportation network is regionally connected and well maintained and reliable. So state of good repair, expanding access for bikes and peds, collaborating on the transit system, and investing in new and smarter infrastructure, and working with PACE. Next slide. All right, so for state of good repair, we're currently rebuilding both the Geneva and Warrenville Road bridges this year over the west and east branch of the DuPage River, respectively. We did 60 miles of resurfacing of our roadways, which is on track to maintain our planning cycle to get to everything in about a 15-year timeframe. And all of those projects will include upgrading our ADA curb ramps and accessibility for pedestrians and bicyclists, including as necessary, the traffic signal push button interface. And of course, we're removing and avoiding load posting on our structures, which basically means we're ensuring the adequate wearing surface of our roadways and continuing the work of accessibility for the healthy economy. Next slide. All right, objective 2, expand and enhance the ped bike network. It's a whole lot of words up there. What that means is we're constructing new sidewalk at a few locations this year to eliminate gaps. I believe half a dozen locations across the county were installed this summer and has been fairly well discussed elsewhere. We're doing preliminary engineering for new sidewalk and lighting along 91st Street in Downers Grove Township as part of a Safe Routes to School grant. We are continuing to work on our active transportation plan and should have that out for public consumption in the next year or so. And we recently completed a safety action plan focused on our vulnerable road users across the county. Basically, that's all those folks who are not in cars or trucks, but are actually rolling in some other way or walking. So, next slide. All right, goal 3 here. As part of our work to collaborate on the transit system, we are sponsoring the PACE and Uber agreement to provide rideshare services in the Hinsdale Lake Terrace community, which is also part of the information on previous slide, where we have the sidewalk and lighting project. So that is a much larger project with the 2 parts combined. All in all, that's about a $2 million investment right there. To date, we've provided about 12,000 rides to area residents. We are also stakeholders in the PACE revision study to reimagine the suburban bus service in our county. And we are actively participating and collaborating on decisions about transit signal priority and operations associated with our traffic signal network and other operations requests we get from PACE. Next slide. All right, invest in the infrastructure. For newer and smarter traffic control systems, we're completing phase 3 and 4 of our central traffic signal system, which will extend our virtual monitoring and management to the overwhelming majority of our signals. I think it's around 85%. And we will be looking for new sources of big data to assist in the ID of incidents or poor performance. Basically, that data that's out there that can be mined is going to help us do origin destination studies and impacts, figure out where there are breakdowns in the existing network and improve mobility as we're able to, and maybe even find some of those safety problems that are sometimes hard to see until something bad happens. So big data is kind of the next step maybe. Next slide. And finally, in support of the PACE Pulse program, of which we are stakeholders and advocates, for the 22nd Street project, we play an advisory role. It's not our road, it's an IDOT road, but it crosses a couple of ours, and we will be staying informed and giving them our suggestions for how that might work, because it will be a model for others across the region. I think that's the last one. Yes.
I have a question for you, Steve.
Of course.
You talked about big data. Are we analyzing that in-house?
Yeah, so right now we're looking for sources and for people who can give us some feedback on what to get out of it. So it's kind of, it's new for us. The planning team led by John Loper is currently talking to a number of vendors, trying to get some information.
Yes, that'd be you.
Thank you, Chair. So I do have a question about that PACE Pulse route because it does go right through District 2. Are there any updates? Have there been any changes?
We just got a letter from their executive director last week reminding us that the study still exists and that we are noted stakeholders, and if we have input or feedback and if we want to stay involved. So we plan to write them back and say, yes, we want to stay involved, and we'll offer whatever insight we have. But again, we're kind of a secondary partner in that instance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any other questions?
I have questions for the.
Sure, you
first
can ask
presentation.
anyone any questions. Go ahead, Henry.
Does anybody else have questions? I'm not a member of this committee.
That's okay. You can
Okay.
still ask questions.
Thank you. So this might be adjacent to the strategic planning, but data centers, DuPage County is like the premier place for building and expanding the data centers. And I know that that affects water consumption, even water quality potentially, also energy usage. And so I'm just wondering if that is even on the radar to talk about just making sure that DuPage County, our residents are protected, or our environment is protected, all of that. Is there any kind of study?
Can answer that a little bit, and Nick, I don't know if you have more to answer.
Another part of it. too.
Sure, and I'll let you do water consumption. How about that? As far as environmental protection, each and every data center has to be permitted through us. In addition to that, the ComEd transmission lines, the ComEd service lines, which are outside of the data center, all have to be permitted through us as well, and are required to meet our, as you will hear, very strict stormwater ordinance and meet all of our criteria. And so any water, rainfall, runoff leaving the site should be meeting the criteria of our ordinance. And so that's the environmental portion of it as far as water. rainwater, sorry, Nick.
Water consumption is the other part. So we are, all of the users, I mean, we, DuPage County, we're a provider of water for, portions of the county, just like us. Everybody's well aware of the water consumption that data centers have. They're a huge user. And you
Yeah.
have to be aware of that when they come in for permits. We do all the modeling, we make sure no development out there, data centers included, are allowed to move forward if they have a negative impact on the system. And the one thing I will say, they do provide a substantial amount of buy-in fees and to allow us to continue to upgrade the system. They have, a lot of usage, so they have the usage fees. So as long as the system is modeled correctly and you look at it, you can absolutely handle them. And it actually has a benefit because they have more usage. Keep in mind, we, along with almost every other community except for maybe 2 in the county, are Lake Michigan supplied through the Water Commission. And there is a good, healthy supply of water.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's good. It's just the more I read about data centers, and it's obviously great for economic development in our county and, I was talking with Greg earlier, but he says there are really serious concerns. The more data centers that we bring into DuPage,
I
obviously.
mean, here's the deal. They're a big box, not that much jobs, but they produce, they utilize a lot of electricity, a lot of water, and they.
No sales tax.
That's right. That's
Problem.
right. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
we actually in unincorporated DuPage, I don't think we have any data centers. They're all incorporated.
Does anyone have any other questions for any of our amazing staff members that presented today? All right, any old business? Any new business? Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.